Hello, welcome to my channel. I am here back in the kitchen again, and I'm going to go ahead and do the meditation for today. Today's been a very busy day. I had a choir rehearsal this morning, and so that's why I didn't do the meditation this morning. But there is something about music involved with the meditation, so that's kind of cool. So at any rate, so I'm going to pick a card first, and then I'll do the meditation. There we go. So you can see that I'm shuffling the cards here. So these cards shuffle really good. I'm using the Gilded Tarot again. I've been using this deck since I started the Going Deeper meditations because I just like them. I just like the way that the way that I can read them, and that it's just I'm learning the deck and I'm learning the tarot a little bit, and so here we go. So let me just see when the energy tells me, or when Bradley tells me to stop. And he usually just does energy. He doesn't say stop, he just does energy, and it's like really weird because it's like I'm not used to it. So here's the card for today. The King of Pentacles. I've had this card before. I've pulled it before, and we know what it means. It's a father figure. It's the prosperity, the goodness, and things like that. So that's what this card actually implies. So that's kind of cool. Pull it again, and for today's meditation. So here we go. I'll try another card just to see what I get. And this is the Ten of Pentacles. So Pentacles, prosperity. I have to look at this a little bit. I like the little mouse that's in it. There's a little mouse here in the corner here. And he's sitting on top of his little chest of pentacles. And what's really interesting about this chest is that I'm in the kitchen here, and we have a little box that we have in the kitchen. And when you look at the box on the card and then you look at this box, it looks kind of similar to it, and it has coins inside. So that's kind of interesting. So just a little bit of info. And then what sits on top of the box is a little teddy bear with a pirate hat. Yeah, so a pirate costume here. And his little mask is like, it doesn't stay. Arr, here we go. So I made him. He's got my little tag on him. So I made this little bear. So he sits in the kitchen here with us. And he is our little Ten of Pentacles bear, I guess you could say, because he's got his little chest with the pentacles inside. So that's the cards for today. I'm not sure how they match up with the meditation, but that will be for you to decide. I think it's kind of cool. So, we'll just keep going here. Oh, make sure the deck was turned around. So, okay. So the meditation for today, we're on day number 15. It's April 27th, 2025. And here we go. I said, I am grateful today for all of you. I never truly realized how lucky I am. But having you all here is just amazing. And Nigel says, you have learned a great deal since starting. The times that you have devoted to your work here cannot be understated. You also understand that even without words, you know that your guides are with you and that you will have a good team that is always there for you. I said, I was wondering if yesterday really happened, but I suppose Bradley was sort of preparing me for a few obstacles with regard to my citizenship. I only hope that it will happen at all. Nigel says, it will. You have put time and effort into the exams, and you have been collecting in everything for it. The time element is not just with you. It is a process. You put it best when you said it is a marathon and not a sprint. And I said, I suppose so. I think yesterday when I pulled the cards and got the swords cards and the not so positive yes cards, that I felt like I was a little bit let down, specifically after the build-up with the test. Don't get me wrong, I was not sad or let down, but after that grand idea that all would work out, I started to question if the energies Bradley was giving were the reality. And Nigel says, no, you're just getting to know him and you are learning how to work with his energy. It was why it was wise. It was wise for you to say that it is going to take some time to accustom yourself with this new form of communication. You see, Ramon said that Bradley doesn't communicate with words. That is your biggest lesson, to understand the energies that he is sending. The interpretations or inferences of Bradley will come to you more smoothly in time. You just are beginning with this. Do you remember how it was when I first came in and spoke to you? It was just after we started the new cycle. You were not sure about how to progress, but as we moved into the group of meditations, you got stronger and more certain with it. As you continued, the ideas flowed. As the time wore on, you found yourself easing into the ideas that things flowed, um, It's the same way here. When you work with energy or begin to feel the flow of Bradley's energy, it will come more natural to you. And I said, to be honest, I've never really gotten into a flow of energy. I always admired people who could go into energies of others and pull cards or draw images of them. I don't know. I don't know if I really want to do that, though. I think it feels dangerous. Nigel says, the act of going into the energies of negative people is not a good idea for you. And I said, why? And Nigel said, well, to put it bluntly, you are far too empathetic. Remember how you felt about the horrific way the U.S. was treating the immigrant population? You were putting yourself into the shoes of those people. You picked up that energy and then felt really poorly for a few days because you had gotten into their energies. It did you little if no good. You were trying rather hard to remove yourself from that energy. When you finally did, you were able to move forward to a better place. The thing is, you are not meant to go into that energy of those who do this. You want you watch surprise you watch several people who are very dangerous in a very dangerous place. They expose themselves to this energy each day, and while they have a bigger following, the act of doing so is dangerous for them. I said, yes, the person who comes to mind is a lovely person, but I have been concerned for their entire well-being. I took a break from their chant videos for the bulk of April because I didn't want to find myself back in that energy, but I can't very well tell them to be careful. Nigel says, no, you cannot. They must learn this for themselves. And I said, yes, I think you're right, but that is probably why I don't mention the names of many of the people they read on. I can say an evildoer or the one in the White House, and people then know automatically who I am speaking of. I don't have to use a name. The act of using a name makes me feel as though I am exposed to their energies. And Nigel says, when you think of a good person or a name pops into your mind, you know that their energies are okay. And I said, yes, I just thought of Karen Carpenter. She was such a talented singer. I was 12 when she transitioned and that had a very lasting impact on me. Nigel says, yes, the energy of Karen Carpenter is a very positive energy. She encapsulated your love of music. I said, yes, she made me feel more passionate about singing. When she passed, I felt the music lost an important voice. I loved I loved her range and the warmth that her voice had. And at that moment, Karen Carpenter comes in and says, is that why you sometimes try to sing like me? I said, yes, I know I should sing like me, but you were always such an inspiration to me. She says, thank you. The act of singing was always a natural thing. It was like breathing. But I always wanted to do it in my terms, not on everyone else's. I said, you would have preferred to remain a drummer. And she says, I would have, but everyone kept telling me to get out in front of a crowd and sing. I never felt comfortable with that, but I never had the confidence to say I want to be a drummer. I said, what was that your lesson? And she says, in a manner of speaking, the act of learning something new will always be hard to do do be hard to the act of learning something new will always be as hard to or easy as you imagine it to be. You could go through your life doing the things that you love and keeping a steady rhythm, or you can expand on it, which is what you are doing. And I said, I am? And she says, yes, you have decided not to just sing, but play the flute, write, and a whole manner of creative things. You are deciding for yourself that you will continue along the path that you chose, and then you will find more doors opening to you. The act of trying these new things is a real game changer for you. You expand You expound on the things that mean a lot to you, and as you come through life, making healthy decisions and finding your niche will come out on the other side, having reached your goals. I said, it feels somehow that that was your lesson too. And she said, yes, it was. I'm open about the choices I made. But in perspective, I had to make them to learn that there are far less destructive things I could have done to cope with insecurity. In doing so, I will discover when I return to give it another go, that it will be a lesson I already know and can perhaps help another with it. I said, you have a much happier outlook about that. I'm glad. She said, yes, and when you listen to the music, particularly the song Top of the World, just know that I am totally on top of the world, looking down on creation, and it is a beautiful place to be. I said, for some reason, I always associated that song with my grandmother. I remember as a child, I would sing along with you and would belt out that song at the top of my lungs. It was a it was a song that of release that meant very much like What a Wonderful World or The Rainbow Connection. And she said, did you ever notice that the songs you love are affirmations for the better world or a more positive state of mind? I said, not really, but now that you mention it, it does. Nigel, is this an accident? And Nigel says, no, you connected with Karen on a very musical way. This is why the two of you could talk for hours. You share that positive attitude through music. Do carry on. I said, okay, Karen, I have to say I'm really happy to get to talk to you. The music you made was positively inspiring. She said, thank you. I hope that you will continue to find inspiration to make music. Go help your husband now. I will be here, and when you get back, we can continue. So that was when I took a break and went to have breakfast. I said, thank you. I was able to have breakfast and will be leaving soon to go to choir rehearsal. I really like singing with the group and am starting to make some friends there. And she said, you will. Music is a great unifier. You will connect with more people and you will see that the friendships you have will flourish. I said, even when we move? She said, sure. You're also making friends through the radio. That will enable you to move to any place and find like-minded people. Don't be afraid of change. It will eventually come. And when it does, you will see that the change will be good. That is the way things work. And I said, you traveled a lot during your career. Did it ever feel like that grind of moving around was just that, a grind? Oh, did you ever feel like the grind of moving around was just that, a grind? And she says, yes, it was on one hand educational, but it was also hard. Trying to bounce from one place to place and not really knowing or learning about that place. I was like moving from one place to another, but doing so boxed in, not really getting to see it or experience the place. I said, yes, I remember talking to a friend of mine who is a guest at conventions. I asked him, how did you like Hawaii? He said, I didn't see much. I thought that was very, very sad. I spent 2 weeks on Honolulu and I loved it. I thought, wow, no time to go to the beach or stick your feet in the ocean. It was just sad to me. She said, that's life on the road. People ask me the same. But when touring, one sees a place, then another, and somehow it all meshes together, and you wake up thinking, I'm in Ontario, Canada. How much time would it take to go to, say, the Grand Canyon? I was like, wow, that would be a long drive. And she says, I was thinking in terms of going by foot. That is how touring is. It's like that one day you wake up and you ask your husband if you could go to Unity. I said, I remember that. We were back home in Germany, and he looked at me somewhat confused. There's no Unity Church in Germany. There's a small Unity school in Berlin, but that is about 4 to 6 hours drive from here. And she says, in that instance, you stepped into the shoes of a performer. This is precisely how touring is. That is why when we had a vacation, we stayed at home. The constant traveling could wear anyone down. And I said, I always thought seeing the world would be amazing. She said, well, we see plane seats, vans, stages, houses, as in large auditoriums, and rinse, repeat. The idea of, as you said, dipping one's feet into the ocean, quote unquote, is about as strange as to us as you going on a holiday and being cooped up in a hotel room. That was my life for about 7 years up to my transition. I said, you were not happy, were you? She said, not in the sense of accomplishment, no. I love singing and performance. I did not like being shoved into a bus or van to go to the next venue. There was little time to see and experience the places I wanted to see and experience. If I could get away from that for an afternoon or take a day off or do my own thing, it was a blessing. I said, I read that you had a controlling family. She said, yes, I did. But that was their hang-up, not mine. I said, I'm not trying to pry. I had that too when I broke away from it. And she said, how did you feel? And I said, I felt sad that I had to do it, but I also felt free. I guess I should get going. I could talk to you for hours. She said, maybe we can when you aren't pressed for time. Sing a bit for me. I will be listening. I said, thank you, Karen. I look forward to it. Thank you, Nigel, for being here. Nigel says, that's what I do. You know that. And I said, see you soon. And that's where we ended. I'm looking very forward to having another chat with Karen. I like her so much, and I just felt really like we gelled good together, and her words just washed over me like water from a tap. It was just amazing. So that was a very happy meditation for me, and I was very, very pleased that it worked out that way. So now I have to look at these cards, and I have to say, well, what does this mean? As a king of Pentacles is the leader, the father figure, the paternal figure, the one who is the inspiration and the one who has the prosperity. But what does this mean? The Ten of Pentacles. So I'm going to grab ye old reliable book and see what the Ten of Pentacles is. La, 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 la. Oh, here we go. 8. Okay, Ten of Pentacles. Here we go. Oops, that's the King of Pentacles. What am I doing? Here we go. This is the card. Okay. An open, sturdy wooden chest reveals 10 golden pentacles. Families often used wooden chests to store their worldly treasures before stashing them away for safety. The small furry creature looks well fed and appears pleased, while the turtle slowly ambles past, representing the unhurried passage of time. We see the symbol of the sun on the lid in the front of the chest. In astrology, the sun often stands for the father figure, status, and honor. The Ten of Pentacles signifies financial and family stability. Home and family security is central to the card, and property sales are often indicated. It particularly tends to refer to the family home. The card also shows material possessions being passed through the generations, so thought should be given to ensuring the wills, trusts, insurance policies have been written, are in good order and up to date. Inheritances can also be indicated with this card. And it goes on to talk about money and stuff like that. And then at the end it says, the lovely card shows the satisfaction of feeling settled and materially secure. Your home and family have a firm and comfortable foundation. All is well in your world. So How does this relate to my conversation with Karen Carpenter? I don't know. I don't see the connection. Do you see the connection? Because if you do, please let me know in the comments below, because I don't see the connection. But at any rate, this is a nice card to get. And this is also a nice card to get. So keeping that in mind, having everything in order and feeling like there's order in the family, in the home, in the world, I'm going to close, and I'm going to wish you a wonderful day. And thank you for being here. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next one. Have a good day and take care. And as always, namaste.